We are glad to be here, and I'm excited to be here. My name is Seth Juarez, and I am the Analytics Program Manager here at DevExpress. And I'm excited to show you some of the new stuff that has been coming out of the Skunk Works here from our engineering team. We have worked very hard on a couple of things that are brand spanking new, and I'm going to show you all three of them today. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the question box. I will answer them as they either come up or at the end. This webinar is scheduled for 1 hour, 45 minutes to 50 minutes of technical content, and the balance for your questions. All right, this webinar, again, brought to you by DevExpress and our friends over at, I don't know what the name of their company is, and Christina's here also. All right, so again, the webinar today is Unleash the Power of Your Data. We have new things that we want to show you. You can see all three of them here. Let me make sure you can see my screen. Very good. Okay, so the agenda for today, we're going to look at DevExpress Snap. It's one of our reporting tools that we've added to our already rich staple reporting tools. We're going to look at the DevExpress Report Server, a product, the first of its kind, that we've released, at least for us. And then we're going to talk about dashboards and look at those. And then we'll follow with any questions. Okay. Snap is right. What I'm going to do is, instead of going through some slides and stuff, why don't I just show you what we've got going with DevExpress Snap. So let me go to the desktop and let me bring up my Snap demo here. I've already pre-built something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how it works first, and then we're going to dig into the code because it's actually really quite simple. So let's get it started. So this particular program is an example of what you can do with Snap reporting. Snap is like Extra Reports, allows you to bind to fields, but unlike Extra Reports, it is not pixel-based. And what I mean by that is our Extra Report suite is very good when you have to get pinpoint accurate reporting down to the pixel. Snap Reports is more like your flow type of layout, something that you would use if you really are not really as concerned with where exactly each control needs to go, but you are still concerned about laying stuff out. So what I've done here is I've dropped the snap control. The snap control is here. In fact, let me show you where the snap control is. The snap control is right here. This is snap control. What it does is it automatically generates a ribbon bar for us, and then we drop this these lists on here that allow us to work with the actual data. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bind to the Northwind database with the products table. And what I've done is I've already, if you can see over here, I've already pulled out the fields that I want to work with, and more importantly, I pulled out a relationship. Notice I have a misspelling here. How embarrassing. I should have spelled that right. I'll show you how to fix that. So we have, not only do we have the categories table, but we have the relationship to the actual products. I'll tell you, there is not nary a report designer out there that actually works with structured hierarchical data. Most of them really just flatten your data first, which I don't think is quite cool, but that's okay. So let me show you how easy it is to develop or to make reports with Snap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a couple of fields. Category name, hold down the control key, then hit description, then do the picture. I'll hit this little guy right here, and I'll do product name, unit price, units in stock. What else should we put in there? Units on order. You know what? I don't like that order. Let me do units in stock, units on order, unit price, and then I'll do EAN 13, which is a barcode formulation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the mouse down and drop it over, and then I'm going to let go, and then the magic happens. That's it. So very good. That's the end of the webinar. No, I'm just kidding. If you see how quickly we were literally able to build a really fast report. I mean, there's nothing out there that's this fast. It's something that you can look at. I mean, it's already predetermined. You've already got something that you can look at. And what we've done is we're trying to espouse a principle where we're going to try to guess what it is that you want us to do, and then we'll let you adjust from there. That way you can have immediate success whenever you're working with our product. So let's make some changes here so I can show you a little bit how you go about making these reports a little better. Say you don't like this. So I'm going to go over here to the list tools. The list tools deal with how things are repeated. And I'm going to change this from a table to convert to paragraphs. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a title up here. Let's call it the product report. And notice that these things right here are fields. These things are not. So I can take this out. I can delete it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit nicer. I'll change it to our famous Sego UI Lite. Make it a little bit bigger. You know, I mean, just stuff like that. The next thing is this over here looks a little sloppy, so I'll put the enter key in there. I'm going to insert a little table here. So you get the feeling of how that you go about editing and changing these kinds of reports. Literally, it's a question of just like you would in Word. You move stuff around. You get a good feeling for it. You say, hey, this needs to be a little bit bigger, so we make it bigger, like so. This we can leave alone. And so this is the kind of editing that you can do. I mean, go to Design, change the borders to none. We'll do the same thing over here, Design, borders to none. And so now you get a really good feeling of how you can interact with this. You go ahead and you can move stuff. You can change stock. It's literally like editing Word. Let me show you now a couple more features, because editing Word for you is like watching me scratch on chalkboard, I'm sure. Let me show you how to edit the style of field. So we're going to go to Properties over here, and I'm going to change the format string. You can hit the ellipsis, and you can get any number of formats that you would like. So we're going to format that as a dollar sign with dollar signs. Then notice that everything changes. Now we can start to move stuff over. There you go. Okay, so let's move these fields over. And now let me show you a really even more interesting kind of thing that we can do with Snap Reports. So moving this over now, I'm going to select this text. And notice that when you're on the field tools, you can actually change the type of content. So let me zoom in here. Notice that this is indeed a barcode number, and so I can select a barcode as the content type. So let's do that. Let's go down to barcode, and let's change the symbology to EAN13, because that's what the field says. And now that we've done that, make it a little bit bigger, and you have a barcode. Notice how easy it is to really do this. To me, it's one of the more interesting ways of actually thinking about doing reporting. And in the end, when you hit the print preview, you have this product report, and this is our report viewer from Extra Reports. As you know, you have the ability to do all sorts of things with it. You can save it, image. You can. I mean, it's literally like viewing a PDF, but in our particular tool. Okay, so let me take a minute and show you how easy it is to bind to objects. So this here is an object graph that I'm binding to. Again, this is students, but instead of it binding to a database, it's binding to a collection of objects. And I'm going to show you that code too. So I'm going to go full name, gender, GPA, age and friends, and then semesters. We'll do semester, behavior, GPA, grades, and notes, and then drop it on. Oh, I think I dropped it on right. Move it over, drop it on. Oh, let me make sure I set that up right before I show you. So let's go to the code actually and make sure that I put the code in. Before we do that, let me show you the code real quickly for how we bound to a database. Notice I used the Northwind data set. I have the categories table, the products table. I put them in a data set. I put them in a binding source. And this is the important bits here. Snap control 1, the document data source is going to be this source. Let me show you about the students. Students here, let me show you what they look like. I'm going to scroll down here, go to the students. Students is literally just a couple of objects. You can see the student here, I changed the display name. You can use the component model display name attributes to change the way things work. And notice it has a relationship to semesters because it has a collection of semesters in there. And then I have this random thing that generates students for me because I'm too lazy to type in a bunch of students, I wrote a random generate students thing. So see, it randomly picks male or female, that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's go back. And let me bind to it again. All right, so here it is. There's the students. So full name, friends, age, gender, GPA, behavior, GPA, semester notes, and then when you drop it on, for some reason I'm not getting the bindings, and we'll have to figure that out a little bit later. Now, let me go to something else which should work. So let me go to Insert, and let me insert a table. Notice what I've done is now I've decided to bind to both Northwind and the students. So I'm going to take a category and a description and drop it in here. Notice that we have that going in there. And now I'm going to take full name, gender, and friends and drop it in here. Notice that what I've done is I've taken two data sources which are completely different, and I've dropped them right onto the surface next to each other without any complaint, without any problems. This is something that's difficult to do with traditional reporting solutions, but now you can do it easily with Snap. That's why we call it DevExpress Snap, because it's really that easy. Okay, let's go to the code and let me show you how I actually bound both data sets or disparate data sources. Here you'll see that, like before, I did the data set. I newed up a data set. I had a table adapter to fill up the table, and then I bound that to the Snap control. Notice that we have the notion of data sources inside of Snap, and so we can add another one. And notice we add another data source down here, and so that's how we get both data sources, and you can work with them literally side by side. And so I think that's one of the more interesting things about Snap. Okay, we've got a ton of other things to talk about, so we will leave Snap for now. But let me tell you that it's a very, very interesting thing. It's available for WinForms, just like our extra reports. You can distribute the designer, which happens to be built on top of our rich text control, to your clients, and they can use it ad hoc to do ad hoc reporting. So we're pretty excited about that. Okay, let's go back to this. Let's show this slide here. The next thing we want to talk about is a DevExpress report server. Now, we're not going to have an unlimited amount of time to talk about this. If you go to the devexpress.com site, to the report server page, we have a lot of this information already up there with some videos on how to do it. I'm going to show you just a couple of things. The DevExpress report server, as far as I'm concerned, is really easy to set up. The user management allows for 4 different distinct roles that can work and shape and do reports. Then we have the ability to create data views, the things that are exported to your reports, so that you can look at them. We have report versioning, distribution, and I'll talk briefly about licensing. Okay, so let's load this puppy up here. So this, again, is a website, and it also has a worker service in order to distribute the report generation load across multiple servers, and then it has a task coordinator that coordinates tasks, and we'll talk about each one of those now. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the user account, because we're going to add a new account. Now, what I've done is traditionally you want this hooked up to a mail server, but what I've done is I have this little crazy program called SMTP for Dev, and literally it's like a fake mail server that I pointed to, and then it traps all of the messages. So that's what that's all about. So let's go to user accounts, and let me make sure I clear this out so you can see all the new emails. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add an account. Hit the plus here, and let's say it's Jill Smith. Oh, that's the username, and that's her first name. I messed that up. Jill, and then Smith, and then the email address is jsmith@devexpress.com. I already have that. And again, you can pick from the numerous amounts of roles. I'll spend 2 seconds talking about this. The admin can do anything. The data administrator can do anything except manage users. Right? They handle the creation of data views. They can create reports, and they can view reports. The report creator does everything except manage data views and manage users. And so you can see how the role starts to get more restrictive as it goes down. So they can create and manage reports. These people can view reports. Okay, so we're going to make this person a data administrator and hit add account. Notice right away the email was sent by the report server. Let me show you how to look at that through here. So we'll hit inspect on the email. We'll go to the body and notice that the email, it says your account name is Jill. To activate your account, go to this guy. So I'll right click and hit copy. Let's close this. Yes, we don't want to see that. So I'll go ahead and get this link here. Right click copy. Then I can go to the report server. And notice that now Jill can activate her account. Wow, I keep getting all these little flyouts everywhere. Weird. So her password, ABC123. ABC123. Before we give her a new password, notice that Jill was not added to the user accounts, but was added to the pending accounts. Right. This is the bin where we keep users that have not quite made it through the entire process. So now that we activate, there she is. Go to user accounts. There she is. Notice we have a notion of both forms-based authentication, and you can also add Windows users. So there's a video I'll show you how you can switch between both security protocols. It's quite easy. In fact, I'll show you. We have a little tool. We go to Program Files, DevExpress. We'll go to Report Server. We have a little tool called the Configure Security Mode that literally, with one command line option, you can switch between forms-based authentication and Windows-based authentication. All right, let's go to managing data views. I have to get a little connection string here so that I can be ready for this. Okay, so let's go to the creation of data views. Now, adding data views is as simple as giving them a name. So we're going to say this is products, and this is going to be the Northwind products. It's SQL Server, and what you do here is you put a connection string. Now, I use a SQL-based authentication. If you're going to use SSPI or integrated security, remember that this process is running under the network service, and so those are the credentials that the server will mimic. Okay, so I'll hit Add Data View, and then we just get to pick what we want. So I want products and categories, and you can also drill down, take a look. If you want to take specific things out that you don't want, you can take them out. I'll just hit Fill Data View, and now we have a data view. Let's go to reports themselves. I'm going to add a new report. When I do that, notice that the end user report designer is loading up, and that's quite awesome, right? There's a special link that we made that allows the website to say, hey, do I have permission to run the end user report designer? By default said yes, you can, and so I can log in here. There's the server. We're going to use report server authentication, so I'll just say my password ABC123. Log in, and notice that we have a direct connection from the end user report designer that we all know and love directly to our server. Obviously, I'm running this all on the same machine. This is not the case when you set this up, and so again, I think it's pretty exciting. Now, let me go here and hit the little plus doohickey, and I'm going to pick a data source. When I hit Add New Data Source, notice what comes up. The available items correspond directly to the data views that we've created. So let's go back. I want to pick the products. I'm going to pick both tables. I'll hit Finish. Notice the binding is there. I'm going to make sure that we're bound to the categories again because we want that sort of master detail. And I want to get the field list up. There it is. So watch this. I mean, this is something that we all know about, right? And again, maybe making reports is not the most interesting thing, but I'm going to make a little cheesy, quick report so you can see how this works. So now I'm going to put this picture here. Move this down over here. So now we have this report. Now, notice here there's a very important button. That uploads the report. So I'm going to hit Upload Report. Looks like I need a category. So let me hit Yes. I'm going to add a new category, and we're going to call this the Product Reports. So that's our new category. So we'll do that. And now what I'll do is I'll name the report. So I'll call it the full categorized products. And then we'll say it's our first report. And then I'll say initial revision. And now this is an interesting thing, right? Because I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later. So I'll hit save. It's been uploaded. Let me hit the print preview. And notice that we have our report as we would expect. Well, you know what? We forgot to do something. So let me go ahead and add the sub report. And I'm going to take the product name here, move this over. Now I'm going to take the unit price. As always, you know that you can do the styling just like we did in Snap. I'll just put C in here, and I'll make sure it's aligned to the right. So we have that. Looks like it's bound. Everything's good. Now I am going to make this a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to check this in, and I'm going to say added products. Hit OK. Check in. Now when I preview, notice that we have this going on over here. It looks like I made a mistake there on the C, and I also need to make this a little bit bigger. I hate it when I make mistakes, right? We don't want the format string to be C. We want it to be like that. Made a mistake. Let me check this in. Made a mistake. Now this is better. I'll hit check in. Go to print preview, and you'll see that now it looks not super good, but good enough. So I can hit the X here because we're done editing it. And when I go to categories, you'll notice that we have a new category called product reports. When I go to the report, we have this thing right here. And then when I hit the eyeball, I'll let this load up. When we hit the eyeball, the report viewer is going to come up, and we'll look at that in a second. But here's the other thing that's interesting. Take a look at everything you can do with a report. We'll talk about generated reports in a second. Let's go to view history. Take a look at this. This is probably one of the most interesting things that we've done with the report server. We don't overwrite the changes that you make. Literally what we do is we add revisions. So you can make changes to reports with confidence. And if you make a mistake, you know what? You can roll back, or you can edit it, or you can view that revision for that matter. By the way, here's the report viewer. You can see the report just like it was built on the client. One of the things that we decided is, realistically speaking, we wanted you to have a rich environment wherein you could develop and design reports. We felt our end-user report designer was the best avenue to do that. So we've made a really tight integration for your report creators to actually use, envision, and do reports. Okay, let's go to scheduling. We're going to add a task here because reports are only as good as those who receive them. So we'll say this is our oh, I hit the caps lock. This is our daily product review. We're going to choose the report categorized products. We'll change the time to 10, I don't know, let's do 10:40. We'll leave that there. That happens every day. I'm going to hit add task. And notice that you can pick who receives it. And here's the interesting thing. You can also pick external subscribers. So we're going to say, so Joe Johnson at DevExpress.com is also going to get the email, and also Sally Fields. She now works at DevExpress.com. There you go. So we'll hit set subscribers, and this will fire off hopefully in a couple of minutes when we get to it. All right, so a word about license. Well, before that, again, to review, we did user accounts, pending accounts, talked about categories, reports. We made a report. We made some data views, and then I showed you how to set up a schedule for reports. All right, so we'll put that down. We'll let that sit there. It'll tell us when something happens, and there you go. So let's do a word about licensing. We want to be very clear. The DevExpress report server and end-user designer ships as part of the universal subscription and includes a single server and 5 simultaneous client access licenses. That's the way it is. Now, this might change in later releases. In essence, you're getting a very good product that does almost everything that you want it to do when it comes to reporting as part of a subscription. It's a steal of a deal. We might change this later on, so I would get in on this as soon as possible. Okay, the next thing and the final thing, because we're perilously almost hitting our time limit. Dashboards are an easy to use, what you see is what you get tool. With 7 dynamic dashboard elements, with drill down and filtering, we have a Windows and a web viewer. Hopefully I can show you both. Okay, let's head on over. I've just built something. I'm happy to show you the code, but literally you drop a tool, you drop the designer on, and I added a new form for the viewer, and I can show you the code if you'd like, but I just made something so we can look at this a lot faster. Okay, let me show you how easy it is to connect to data. So I'll hit new data source. I'm going to call this analysis. Hit next. And I'm going to choose my analysis database. I'll hit next. The data source has been successfully created. And now what it's going to do is to say, hey, Seth, what do you want to work with? Do you want to type something in with some joins or whatever? You can do that. Or you can pick a table. And when I do that, I just pick the fields that I want. The ID is not really going to help me. I can also preview the results so you can see what it is that's going on. So I'll hit close. That's what I want. Now, over here on the left, you have the fields. Over here on the right, you have the actual design surface of the things you want to do. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to start building a dashboard and show you how easy it is. So this is a support database that has when tickets were opened, how long it took to resolve them, who wanted them, what type of issue it was, and what product it was. So you can envision what kind of things you want. So for example, how many were opened in a month, for example. So I'll put there it is, how many were opened. I'll choose month. You can see that there, and you can even do a series, right? Which allows you sort of like the year value. So notice you have here 2011, 2012, how many tickets were opened. And you can also change the type of chart that you're doing. So for example, in this example, it might be better to have a line. Notice that in 2011, the number of support incidents rose dramatically in December. Interesting, 599 as compared to 133. Again, the concept of a dashboard is to literally help you see what is going on in order to make informed decisions about what's going on in your business. So let me hit edit names, and we can say issues by month, for example. Month. Now the other thing is we have how long it took. So let's add another one. Let's do a chart here, and we are going to go ahead and say the resolve time, the average resolved time. Let's do it again by month and by year. So we'll say month here, and we'll say year here. Got that, and now all we need to do is go to the layout and style and choose align as well. Okay, so I made it so that when I hit, incidentally, interrupting everything, we have our, looks like we've received a message. 4 people have received messages. Outlook wants to be in charge of these. Yes, I want to exit. Notice that we have a couple of, by the way, it's kind of cool, right? Notice we have a couple of reports. There were two report server users, right? Let me go to inspect. These folks get an email that says, here's your report, go look at it. These people, right, who are external users say, here is a PDF that we've sent you. Look at it. Right? I think that's pretty impressive. So now your report distribution has literally been relegated to typing a couple of emails in to a report server. So yes, that's, I think, one of the cool things. So you saw that happening. It worked. All the messages were sent out. There they are. All right, back to charting, or back to dashboard. This is going to be average response time. Right? We can put that there. Then I'll hit F5, and you can start to see how this is starting to take shape. Notice that the response time increased at the end of 2012, but it decreased at the end of 2011. So you can see that our response times are getting better in 2012, but at the end of the year, they kind of went to the same place. So it's pretty cool, I think. So we'll hit escape here. And let's add some more. We'll add 2 more charts, and then we'll start to wrap it up. So we'll add a chart here and a chart there, and I want to start showing you some of the other features like drill down, etc. So we're going to get how many were processed, but I want to know by product and by customer or by employee. Well, let's do customer. Okay. So notice this looks weird. So let's fix it. Let's go to Layout and Style. Let's rotate this so that it's a little bit easier to do. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the data, and I'm going to do a drill down by arguments. Right? And this is the interesting thing. Because now notice that what I've done is I've made it so that when we're looking at WPF stuff, let me make this a little bit bigger here. We're looking at WPF stuff. There's 1,713 things. When I click on it, notice that you can see these by the people, right? And so drill down is something you can do fast, easy, and without any really, I mean, it's pretty cool. Drill down's a really powerful thing. Now, you can undo the drill down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a series, and that series is going to be by issue type. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the layout style to this. So now notice that the power, let me unshow the caption and let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see. The power that we have with a dashboard is that we can literally, the more dimensions of data that we can see in a single slot, the better. So now when I go to WPF and I click it, I can see what's going on by person, right? So notice that here, Min Soo, this person right here, or I'm sorry, Mike Seams has more critical issues than anyone else. Oh, go down here, you can see that that's happening down there. We can even make it a little bigger to see it. Here, as I scroll down, notice 6 by Chris Norrid. That's telling us a little bit about Chris, and maybe there's something we need to work on and help him a little bit more, or maybe he's using our product in a very specific way. So that's sort of the interesting thing. So let me hit escape here. Let me take this off so that when we drill down, we're not going to be able to drill down anymore, but when you do drill down, it helps. The other thing you can do is you can say, let's go ahead and do filtering by it. So I'm going to say we're going to filter these by series, for example. So there's a filter there. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and let's do resolve time, average resolve time of a particular product name. And let's leave it like that. So this is a good chart. Let's hit F5 so we can run it. Notice that this particular chart, let me go back over here and hit ignore on this, and I'll explain why I did that. So I'll hit F5 again. Okay, so now when I click on this, notice what happens. Notice that now this is changing based upon the actual based upon the actual series. So when I click on normal, for example, notice that these are all the normal resolve times. The average was 14. Urgent resolve times, the average time was 8. Critical average time was 6. And notice that now we've learned something about our response times for critical versus normal versus urgent. And it's very powerful, single click. You can see it's been set, and then you can literally take it off. And so that's how filtering works. Notice I hit ignore master filter here. And the reason why is I didn't want it to participate. But what if you did want it to participate? Let me ignore that. Let me ignore that. And let me hit F5. Now when I hit critical, notice that you can see how many were open that were critical over the year and the average response time. You can see for normal, and you can see for urgent. The last thing I want to show you is I want to add a new dashboard element called the range filter. And that range filter we're going to put right at the bottom. Oops, I didn't drag it all the way. By the way, I would suggest that you download it and give it a try. It's really cool. So there's the range filter, and all I want to do is I want to say how many were open, and the argument's going to be not by year. We want maybe month here. And you can see here's how these are how many issues were open every given month. So let me hit escape, and let me make sure I have everything selected the way I want. Okay. And now notice that this thing allows you to actually change what's shown, right? So here are all the issues by month, or by in this date range. Let's see how many were normal. Let's see how many were critical. Let's see how many. I'm sorry, urgent and critical. So notice that literally you can drill down, you can filter, you can do all sorts of things, and it's literally with a single click. All right, so I made a dashboard here. Let me do this. Let me show the captions here. Let me edit the name and let me say opened, and this chart. I don't know. Let's call it response time. Response time. Notice that this is kind of large, so we'll say resolved. Notice that we can change the y-axis because this is super long. Resolve. There you go. This one, same thing. Let's just have opened because that makes more sense. Same thing over here. Again, notice it's starting to look a lot nicer now that we're doing stuff. Because I mean, usually people are pretty clear on what's going on, but we should add little indications to help them. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to save this, and we're going to save it as our support database support. Okay. Now I'm going to close this, and in preparation for getting this ready for the web, we have to change one thing right now. And the reason why is because when we did it, I was quick and I did it with integrated security. Notice the website is not going to be able to use integrated security. So I'm going to open this puppy up, show you what it looks like, and I'm just going to go ahead here and change this so that now the data connection has a full connection string. Take that out. There you go. That's all I did. Notice in here we have the definition of the dashboard, everything that was in there, hunky-dory. Okay, so now I'm going to open Visual Studio. And I'm going to open a project that I've already created. I'll tell you how I did it. And I'm sorry I'm starting, you know, I really like doing the file new, but we had so much to cover. It was literally, right. So it's web dashboards. And let me tell you what I did to set this up. The first thing I did is I started a blank DevExpress ASP.NET project. That's the first thing I did. The second thing I did is I added jQuery. And the last thing I did is I literally just dropped our dashboard viewer onto the design surface. And then that was it. You can see the fruits of that labor here. Under Source, you see here's the dashboard viewer, literally just a thing in the toolbox. Well, not right now, but here it is. Go down, navigation layout, there it is. This thing right here, literally just dragged it on. The other thing is I added a jQuery. That's it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add this dashboard file. There you go. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell this dashboard, guess what, dashboard? You are going to use the file that I just gave you. And to do that, you use the dashboard XML file property, and I hit support. Let it think about life for a second. Notice that it's all there, and now I'm going to run it. All right, it's starting up. And, as you know, as the famous announcer said, I'm pausing for effect here. It's not because my computer's slow. That's not it at all. But as the famous announcer said, boom goes the dynamite. There it is. Hopefully, I'm not sure why it's not. Oh, yeah, I know why. Because I need to make it bigger. Notice that it loads out. I'm not sure why it's not loading it up all the way. Hit Control F5 here. Maybe I did something wrong with the data connection or something. This is something that does where I don't know why it's not coming out that way. Let me see if I can figure it out. So let me go to this guy right here. Let me make sure the connection is okay. Close analysis connection. Make sure it's good. Very good. That's my SA password. Let's restart and see what's going on here. And let me try opening it also in Internet Explorer just to make sure. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's doing that. I must have messed something up, foobarred something. But rest assured, it's something that we're pretty excited about. I'm not sure why it's not coming out now. I must have done something wrong with the data source. But again, the idea is that you can literally, well, let me load one up that I did yesterday that I know works. Go to the desktop here, and let me go to Files. Wait a minute. I have to hit Stop first. Go to Files, put this guy in there. Let me make sure. Yeah, that one didn't work either. This one I made for something else, and I didn't finish this one. But the idea is that there's a connection string that you set up. There's an analysis connection, and then we make sure everything's in there. And again, it's something that's pretty simple. We are going to release a way for you, in fact, to actually trap when the data source is loaded, so you can change the connection string. And that's coming in our next hotfix release, our next 0.5, I think. All right, well, that is everything for now. I feel like I'm running out of time here all the time. All right, let's go over here. So to review, we looked at Snap, we looked at Report Server, and we looked at dashboards. Now let's go to the question box. All right, what do we have here? We have a plethora of questions. Okay. The first, what is the data limitation in terms of number of records? I'm not sure which one he's talking about, but again, for all of them, it's literally a question of how much memory do you have. Next, is it possible to add a custom control to the dashboard? How about adding custom properties to existing controls? Not yet. Do you have plans to add a native map to the dashboard? Great question. That is something that we are discussing. What is the time frame for the next release? We really don't discuss that because we don't know. What you guys that build software know that you can set a date, but sometimes you're early, sometimes you're late, so we try not to give dates very often. When adding data source, does the dashboard load the whole data set in memory, or is it streamlined somehow? Currently, we load a partial data set for when we are actually doing the design, and then we do a full data set when it pulls it up to render it. Does the dashboard utilize the unclustered stored index column feature in SQL Server? Yes, if you are using the proper query and you are taking advantage of the index. Okay, is it possible to have drill through more than one level? For example, in the sales overview demo, the chart will be drill through of the grid and the gauge. Yes, absolutely. Just click the button and give it a try. How about OLAP as a data source for the dashboard? Great question. I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't think so currently. Next, once you have generated a Snap report, can it be exported and opened with another app using your reporting suite? You know what? Not yet, but I'm sure we can make that happen. Send me an email and maybe I'll build something for you. It's not too hard to do. Next, can you export to all formats like extra reports? Currently, I saw in the viewer that you could not, but I'll have to look into that. Send me an email. My email, again, is sethj@devexpress.com. Next, I have an ASP.NET license with extra reports. Is DevExpress Snap included in my licensing? No, it is not. It is a WinForms control and belongs to the WinForms subscription. All right. Burning through these. Okay. is emailability built into the report toolbar for ASP? I'm not sure, Carl, if you're talking about the report server or not, but as far as emailing, no. It's not inside of the ASP.NET control itself, the web forms control, but again, you can use the server, the report server to do that as well. When does the full DevExpress random test data generator get released? I can send it to you this very afternoon. Literally, I'm lazy. I mean, like all programmers, we go to great lengths to not go to great lengths. And so I wrote a program that will literally give me thousands, if not millions, of fake students. It's really funny. All right. Going down, is the designer also in ASP.NET? I'm guessing that they're talking about the report designer for the report server. The answer is no. We do not have an ASP.NET designer. Snap indeed is only for WinForms. That's a question. So the question next is, when will it be available for ASP.NET tools? Snap, I'm not sure. Great question. I'll go ask them today. Is it possible to use client scripting in Snap? Not quite yet. Will the report server work with Silverlight? I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you mean that you want to expose the report server inside of your tool, then we use the Silverlight in the report viewer. I think so, but again, something we'll have to talk about more fully. Can the report server be tied into a Windows Active Directory and do OS authentication, or will it only work using its own internal user management module? Great question, Jennifer. You can do both. Windows authentication, that's something you can set up. In fact, that's the default setting when you go in, or you can do report server authentication, both. Okay, how do you change the admin account information? Click on the admin. Click on there's a little user icon at the top right. Okay, wow, this is really cool. Can we generate a report on the report server and then connect Silverlight to it to display the report within Silverlight? The answer, I think, is probably, but again, it's going to take a cal to do that. Could you show how to use multiple data views in a report? Yes. In essence, what you would do is you would add a data view, another data view. I guess I'm not sure. My sense is a data view is a shape of data for a particular report. And so if, for example, if you're doing a personnel report, there's going to be certain tables that are always going to be included. You can use all of the tables inside of that data view to do your report. Okay, next one. So can I run my extra reports also on the report server without making use of the views? Currently, no. The way it works is that it's using the data views as the ultimate data source. Next. What is the price for report server for those with other platforms such as ASP.NET subscription? Literally, Mark, it's an upgrade to the universal license. So whatever the difference is my feeling. You can contact client services and they will help you. What kind of support options are offered by DevExpress? Great question. The support options we have currently is we guarantee a 24-hour turnaround on any support question. We do not have custom or professional training as of yet, but if you're interested in something like that, Douglas, feel free to give me a call or a ring. All right, next. Burning right along. Uh-oh, I think I skipped one. Okay, I have the following questions. Report server, can we connect to SQL reporting service? No, not currently. How can I add existing DevExpress reports? Great question, Sandeep. It's something that I personally want to work on. I want to build a tool that lets you pull them in. However, remember that your data view shapes have to be similar to the shapes that were inside of extra reports previously. 3, enterprise licensee cannot get reporting service. No, the report service comes with universal only. Next, can the report server integrate into a WinForms application? Can it use Active Directory? If so, how does the report server map to different roles? Great question. The report server, again, we haven't tried them. That's a great question. I'm going to go ask the devs today. Can it use Active Directory? Absolutely, if you use Windows authentication. By that, however, I don't mean, because someone asked before, if you mean can I import all the users from Active Directory, currently you cannot, but if you're using Windows authentication, it will default to that sort of setting. In fact, if you look at the training video, you'll see that how to activate Windows authentication in order to prepare the server to do reporting. Next, have you tried the dashboard in a cloud environment response time? Great question. I have not. Email me. I want to try it with you. Can the dashboard do alerts, i.e. visual, email, or message, pickup type, notifications, criteria, like over 1,000 open? No, Bradley, but you know what? Please email me. That's an excellent, excellent, excellent suggestion. I like it a lot. Is the dashboard builder for our clients or for us? It is for both. For both. I guess the alerts idea presumes time data refreshes. Yes, Bradley, I also like that suggestion. Great question. Next, the design of the dashboard is in the WinForms application, and then the result can be shown in the web. Yes. Can the user then create their own dashboards without having Visual Studio? Yes, actually. Pretty interesting. Is the report server distributable, or do end users purchase? Scott, great question. You cannot distribute the end user. You cannot distribute the report server. It is the first of its kind, fully contained product. Eventually, I am hoping that we can sell it on its own SKU. And so if you currently want to distribute it to a client, my suggestion to you is to buy an additional universal license for them, or you can buy it and assign it to them inside of your client center. Do all of these support OData natively? William, not yet, but I'll tell you that it is definitely in the works. Do the tools support Oracle as a data source? Jennifer, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, we use as our data engine, we use XPO, which, as you know, is pretty much agnostic to data provider. Next, can user create then his own dashboards without, oh, I already did that, license. Can Snap Reports be used with web forms? Jennifer, not currently. Can we add a Snap Report to a traditional port? No, currently they are two separate things. Next, right now to send a report to Silverlight, one use yes. Yes. So Lionel, email me about the Silverlight stuff. Okay, next. Can we take a snapshot of the dashboard and save it as a report? Great question. Not yet. How does licensing work for client dashboards? Just like our WinForms extra reports. Are dashboards available with an ASP, Linda? Yes, they are. You design them in the WinForms application. You export the XML file, and then you can use that inside. My demo, I don't know why I had a demo fail. I tried it last night, but it's pretty simple, and we're actually producing a new release here shortly that lets you do and handle even more stuff. Whew, that was a lot of questions. I burned through them. If you have any other questions, feel free to add them. Again, like you, I'm a developer at heart, and so I try to be as specific as possible when it comes to answering. And so if they are terse, I'm so sorry. It's just the way I was brought up as a programmer. Okay. A couple of other questions. Revisit the report server. Are you saying the report server is best used if we use SAS? I don't know what you mean by SAS. SQL, I'm not sure, Sheriff, you could, oh, yes, absolutely, yeah. If you want to, great, software as a service, yes. So my sense is that here's the narrative that I'm going to give you. Imagine you're Joe, developer. Let's make it your Jill developer. Jill, every 10 minutes, gets a request from marketing that says, hey, we need the label moved to the left a little bit, and we forgot to add the field Y to the report. Jill can now say, hey, go to the report server, hit edit, and fix it. The idea with report server is that now, in essence, you are dispensing with the monotony that is creating reports, and you're giving it to those people who absolutely love to make it the right shade of red and put the line exactly where they want it. Let them do that. We have more important things to do. So that's the idea. Now, if you mean as a service, you want to provide it to other people to do reporting based upon it. My sense is that you can, but you have to pay for a cal for each user. So, for example, if you have 10 users, you're going to need to pay for 10 cals. And we're happy. You can use it. You can use it as a software as a service. But again, each cal, I mean, yeah, I mean that's the thing. Now, the difference between a viewer and a viewer cal, they literally can go in there and they can view stuff live reports, ad hoc pull reports. If you're distributing to an external person, they're literally just going to get a PDF. It's not going to be as interesting, right? And so that's the value proposition with the CALs. Okay, Jennifer asked, could you explain the report server licensing again? 1 server and 5 users. 5 users how? 5 users that you add to the actual, here, let me show you. Wow, where is my browser window? Here we go. There we go. So the browser window here, sorry, I have like 5 windows everywhere. So it was a local host, 83. Yes, Windows authentication, again, is something that we've set up in there. And so, again, there's some videos that you can look at. Okay, so CALs are attached to these people that have accounts. Okay, how does report server licensing work with Windows OS Auth Active Directory? You have to add a user. Great question, Jennifer. You add a user, and if it's a domain account, you just say, this is the domain account. And so what happens is, when you go to the report server, it will look at who the current user is, and if it matches the user that you've added, then it will match. Okay, next question. So as an example, we could use reporting server for a support system and send clients results, responses as PDFs. Currently, you can. Great question. All right, guys. If there aren't any other further questions, I will hopefully I'll ask Christina to put my email into the. Well, I'll do it right now. Let me send my email address. Again, my name is Seth Juarez. My email address is sethj@devexpress.com if you have any questions. Okay. Thanks again for watching, and we're excited to give you these new products. We're very excited about them. As always, we will definitely take your suggestions and we will take your feedback because we want to make this the best product for you as possible. All right. Thanks for watching again, and let's see what develops.